We saw a velocipede just like this one on Pawn Stars the other night, and the lady wanted, I think, $8,000 for it because it was a rare antique. This one was at St. Vinny's for $14.95, and if I could think of any reason to bring that home and try to display it in my house, I would, but I couldn't. I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle, and let's go thrifting. I found some definitely story worthy stuff this time. I've seen the Uncandle a couple of times over the years, and the most interesting thing about it to me is the packaging and the logos. I never had one back in the day when they were a new thing. This was pretty, and I thought for a minute that it might have been something that somebody made, but there were tags on the bottom and it's mass produced. And I try if I'm going to splurge on cute stuff to get something that somebody made, unless maybe it is as weird and wonderful as this candle. I He is spectacular. Here's a teddy bear somebody painted back in the day. I've been seeing more vintage ceramics lately. Whether that is because there are more out there or I'm looking for them, I don't know. What I do know is that it is all kinds of fun to look at the treasures people have finally decided to part with. I'm still not finding any resin houses, and I swear before I started looking for them that every single thrift shop had at least five or six. Now the only thing I find is lighthouses, and that's not what I'm looking for. There were some vintage porcelain pieces. Now and then I see those, but usually it's newer stuff. And I'm looking for things that are old and fun. And this monkey bookend, he's sitting in an open book. He's just neat. And in hindsight, I'm looking at him and thinking that I might regret leaving him behind. He was fun. There's a tin elephant riding a tricycle, and I am just guessing he's a reproduction, and a real cute mama mouse and her babies back there, I think. There is more of that glassware that my grandma had. I swear since I made that video talking about it, I have seen a piece in every single store I've been in. Have they been there for the past few years? I don't know. If you did ceramics in the 80s, or if someone in your life did ceramics in the 80s, geese were everywhere. That has got to be the strangest example of the geese I've seen in a while, because why do we need decapitated goose head salt and pepper shakers? Somebody did an applique witch quilt. She was cute. There's more Trixie Belden than I usually see in one spot. And The Secret of the Old Mansion will always, always, always be my favorite vintage children's mystery. I think I have five or six copies at home. Someone in my childhood had this set of dining room chairs. Not the table because they're mismatched, but they had those chairs. I have been racking my brain trying to figure out who it was, and I think that they might have been in Grandma's dining room for a brief period, but I don't know. This was astounding. It is a cross-stitch dollhouse. It has all the back stitching. It has all the gorgeous detail. And they only wanted $5 for it. And all I could think while I was in the store was how incredibly pink it was. They also had these needlepoint flowers that I am suspecting started life as chair cushions. And the thing that I cannot figure out is how they are so off center. That has to have been on purpose, right? Here's a cute little drop leaf table. I really like that. And a chair that I wanted to fall in love with. It's probably a good thing it was so old and grungy, or I would have been trying to figure out how to incorporate this into my life. Look at the houses. I think that 5-year-old me would have had all the dolls and been playing pretend, propping them each in front of their own little house. Grown-up me thinks that this would make an awesomely comfortable stitching corner. But like I said, it had not aged well. The houses were faded. The fabric was grimy. But if it was new or newer, I would have been absolutely in love. I'd never seen the Fisher Price Little People Travel Together friendship, and now that I've seen it, I want one. This is almost as cool as the 1970s Fisher Price Little People houseboat that I had when I was a kid. And I, well, I can explain why I love the one from my own childhood so much. I can't explain why I'm so drawn to this more contemporary version, except that would have been so much fun. My kids did not fully appreciate the little people, no matter how many I bought for them, because I hit the point where I appreciate the ones that I had as a child and the details that they had or lacked to contribute to your imagination. But that was cool. And if you remember the Velveteen Rabbit, this dog has got to be real. He looked so old and so loved, and you just don't see stuffed animals like this. I It makes me nostalgic. I circled back to the dollhouse and I made the mistake of taking it off the wall and reading the frame. Happy 10th birthday, Allison. There are 2,320 stitches in this picture, and each is made with love for you. Love, Grandma. It has a Goodwill price tag. I found it at St. Vincent's. There's a story there, and I'm afraid to think too hard about what it might be. Went over to the other St. Vincent's to look at their new craft section, which I'm still having fun exploring. Found some old charts with old houses. This one is totally handwritten. I think they both were. And they both came home with me because I want to stitch houses. I always want to stitch the houses. And they had an absolute ton of 6-stranded embroidery floss, all divided up into little baggies for 99 cents. These were labeled with numbers. They were labeled DMC or JP Coats. I think there were a couple of other brands in there. I don't know if this was a good purchase or not, but I brought the ones home that were in colors that I see myself using. I've got things planned that don't require that it specifically be DMC, so I need to count the skeins and sort through them and see what I've got. There were vintage knitting needles. There were stitch bows still in their original packaging. Somebody must have purged their needlework collection. And I brought home about $6 worth of floss and 2 books for 95 cents or something like that each. It was a little bit of a splurge. That's the floss I didn't buy. I don't know what, probably because there was so much orange in there. Now I'm asking myself questions about why I bought the floss and didn't buy the cross-stitch dollhouse, but I just have a hunch that it's for somebody else and not for me, and it is so prominently hanging there in the store that if the person who needs it steps in the store, they will see it. And if it is still there when I go back next week, I will reconsider whether or not it comes home with me. But like I said, it is so, so pink. And with that story on the back, I don't think that I could bear to take it out of the frame and separate it from that. Let me know what you think. I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle, and I just totally lost my train of thought there. Thank you for thrifting with me. I did not buy the motorless sewing machine in the coffin case, even though the case was gorgeous and it was only $10. Nothing convinced me I needed it. Thanks for thrifting with me. I'll be back with you with more videos soon.